everybody. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And welcome. And in today's incredibly topical show, Neil Armstrong walks on the moon, some angry cyclists, and I throw a sandwich out of the window. All that is to come. But first, Aston Martin has just launched a new car. And here's Richard Hammond to tell us all about it.
This is the new V8 Vantage.
And, well, it's not an ugly car, is it? I mean, I'm not sure about this colour. You'd be on the phone to your doctor if your wee came out like this, but the shape itself is stunning. This is one of those superstar cars that leave a wake of dropped jaws and phone camera flashes.
And as the smallest, punchiest, sportiest car in the Aston lineup, it's fast too.
Go! 0 to 60 takes 3.5 seconds. Oh, I'm slightly alone. You're not going to be embarrassed by 911 Carrera. Brilliant. I shall be victorious. Oh my God. Go, go, go. Unleash the beast. Back in. Oh no. Give me everything you've got. Go, go. Oh, here we go, here we go. Wow! Gotta keep the pressure on. Go. Oh my God! Top speed, 195.
But here's the thing. Astons have always been beautiful and fast in a straight line. But when you're making a sports car, that's the easy part. It was when you dug deeper under the skin into the areas you couldn't see that in the past they often came up short.
The trouble is, the company has never had the money or the manpower of Porsche or Ferrari, and you could sense that in their cars. They just didn't feel as well made or well engineered as some rivals.
That means they sold mainly to people listening to their hearts and not their heads. Because your heart says, I want an Aston, even when your head says that door doesn't fit properly.
But this is 2018. Good looks and speed aren't enough if bits are coming off in your hand. This car can't be nice to drive for an Aston. It can't be well made for an Aston. It's got to be good, full stop. Yeah, in an AMG, this engine doesn't make this noise. In a Merc, it's all power bass, whereas Aston Martin have added some British gravel to the mix.
So, it's handsome, quick, tuneful, and feels well built. But now we come to the acid test. How the new Vantage handles corners.
So, let's see what's what. Go, go, go. Built an all-new chassis, a shorter version of the one under the DB11. And it's the first Aston Martin to be fitted with an electronic dip. A very expensive but very valuable weapon of war. Then we come to the engine. It's a 4-litre V8. It has twin turbos. It makes 510 horsepower. Watch this. Oh, for God's sake. Yeah, it works. This is in control of its power. It really is. It's been set up by a man who used to work at Suspension Masters Lotus. And you can tell. In the past, you could buy an Aston and love it, but still know deep down that a 911 was a better car. With this new Vantage, that gap has been closed to a point where it doesn't matter.
It's not just brilliant for an Aston Martin. It's brilliant, full stop.
Good job. I can see her.
Can you really?
I really can see her. I agree with you on that. It's a brilliant, brilliant car. But one thing I ought to mention, you know all that tech inside it?
Yeah.
That is Mercedes stuff, but it's last generation Mercedes stuff.
Yes, but it's still better than all the stuff that Aston used to fit.
That's true.
Is it not?
No, that is true. And the other thing, you expressed surprise that it's got that AMG engine.
Yeah.
But you've got to remember the Aston V12 they've been using for years, that's German.
Well, it's made in Germany.
Yes.
Well, that makes it sort of German, doesn't it?
No. It's where it's designed and developed that matters.
Let's not get bogged down with what's German and what's not. The point is, OK, unlike the previous Vantage, that is way, way more than a pretty face. I mean, a lot more. But now let's find how fast Abby can get one around the abode. Way there at that unusual and frankly stupid square steering wheel, and already we're at the drop down into your name here. wide for old lady's house. A bit in the ground there, and now the short squirt down the substation. Cross the line.
It's exciting.
It does.
It's live.
It's like an old-fashioned racing car when it's moving around.
The old days.
That's a good-looking lap, that. Right, let's find out where it ended up on our lap board, shall we? Here we go. Look at exactly the same speed as a 911 GT3 RS.
Yeah, and when you think the Aston doesn't have a massive wing and scaffolding in the back, that is pretty impressive.
Very impressive.
Yeah, but never mind that. Look, it's no faster than a BMW M5.
Yes, but I think what that says, James, is the M5 is seriously quick.
Now, this year marks the 50th anniversary of the first landings on the moon, and I thought I should take a little celebratory look back at that truly historic mission.
James, this isn't a grand tour of whatever is in your head. You do know that.
No, but I promise there will be some cars in this film. Eventually.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal, before this decade is out, of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the Earth.
When President Kennedy made that speech to Congress in 1961, he gave the scientists at NASA a planet-sized headache. Nevertheless, the brains at NASA knuckled down and throughout the 1960s set about developing and testing the rockets and the technology that would be needed to crack this monumental nut. However, machinery on its own was not enough. Equally important to the success of the space program were the astronauts. Now, these men were generally of a type. They were fighter jocks and test pilots, and they were very familiar with moving around at very high speed. So, and I did promise we'd get some cars into this, when it came to moving around on the face of the Earth, there was one car they favoured above all others. The Corvette, America's premier sports car.
Yes, John Glenn, holder of supersonic flight records and the first American to orbit the Earth, drove this. Dab of brakes. Yay! It has an engine of just under 600cc, 2 cylinders, 0 to 60, 35 seconds. Loving between the American astronaut and the Corvette started with Alan Shepard, the first American in space in 1961. And on his safe return to Earth, he was given a free Corvette by General Motors, a sort of medal for services to the country. By 1969, just inside Kennedy's deadline, NASA was ready to try landing some men on the moon. The astronauts chosen were Buzz Aldrin, who drove a Corvette, Neil Armstrong, who drove a Corvette, and Mike Collins, who drove a Beetle. Presumably that's why they left him in the command module and didn't let him walk on the lunar surface.
Eagle Houston, we have you now. Do you read over? Loud and clear.
When the astronauts finally approached the surface of the moon, the landing was not without drama.
Okay, all flight controllers, gonna go for landing.
The designated spot was full of craters,
Eagle Houston, you're a go for landing.
forcing Armstrong to fly manually and look for another place to set down.
4 forward, drift into the right a little. Okay, engine stop. Mode control, both autos, descent engine command override off. We copy you down, Eagle. Listen, Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
When they finally landed, they had just 20 seconds of fuel remaining. But no matter, they were down on the moon.
That's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
Back on Earth, a hero's welcome awaited. And once he got home, Armstrong, like so many astronauts, would swap the seat in his spacecraft for a seat in a Corvette.
And when I say Corvette, I mean this actual Corvette. This one. This was his. This is Neil Armstrong's Corvette. Oh. His hands were here, he looked at the instruments like that. He touched that. Neil Armstrong. The first person to set foot somewhere other than the Earth. Go! Forward. Go! Go. The first person to set foot somewhere other than the Earth. Go. Go faster. Right then, let's go. The owner of this car, when he realised what it was he'd found, decided not to restore it. He would leave it exactly as it was. He would just do enough to make it run. So he hasn't done the paint, he hasn't replaced bits in here. This is all exactly as he found it. There's patina on the bonnet there. There's a scuffed bit on the door. It's real. Hello, Rev Counter. Neil Armstrong's looked at you, hasn't he? Oh, I think a Huey is coming. There's Mr. Huey, there's the evocative one. Those are the two sounds of the 60s, aren't they? That one, and the sound of Neil Armstrong speaking from the moon. Neil Armstrong's Chevrolet Corvette. Love it. Love it. What an honour.
What's gone wrong with astronauts?
They don't go to the moon anymore.
No. They used to be rock gods. I mean, if you think about it, they would drive their Corvettes into town, get hammered, get chlamydia, and the next morning they'd be upside down in a starfighter. Anyway, that's enough about space now. I want to move it on because I came into the office the other day and told these two that the Citroën C3 Aircross that I'd been driving was very good. And they said it wasn't.
Because it isn't.
Yes, it is. And I decided to prove that it is by doing one of those very thorough tests where we cover all the things that matter in a car of this type.
Oh, wait a minute. Is this going to be one of those stupid films where you do ridiculous tests to discover if a car can, I don't know, drive faster than itself?
No. This is the car in question. It's a 5-seater, front-wheel drive hatchback. Prices start at £14,720 and it looks rather funky, with those splashes of orange paint here and there. It's also easy to see out of because the windows are made from glass and all the controls fall easily to hand because they're on the dashboard or the steering wheel rather than under the carpet in the boot. No. Very quick. But you may be wondering what makes it so special. Well, to find out, I've decided to break the test down into segments so that all the important questions can be answered. To find out, we've come here to the banked Millbrook Bowl in Bedfordshire. Citroën say that because the quite small 1.2-litre 3-cylinder engine in this particular version of the Aircross is turbocharged, it produces 128 horsepower. And now it's time to see what that means in terms of top speed. And here we go. Go. Get a bloody move on. So can it do better? Okay, what I've done now is hooked up to the back end of a Bentley Bentayga. Now this is a car with a top speed of 180 miles an hour. What it's doing is it's punching a hole in the air for me, and I'm driving along in a vacuum. So that should mean I go faster. Let's find out. Go. No. Drive close. Drive my foot into the floor. Bluebird. My only worry is that I just saw a single magpie, and it is Friday the 13th as I do this. So now I'm going to ease out of this dangerous situation. Well, if the space is smaller than the aircross, then the answer is no. And with that sorted out, it's time for one of the most important tests a little car can face. To find out, I've come to Southampton Docks, where obviously I've been forced to wear a hard hat in case a ship lands on my head. Anyway, as you can see, the little car has been attached by rope to the enormous car transporter. Which I've just noticed has a face. It's Booty McBoatface. The challenge I'd come up with was to see if the 1-ton C3 could pull the 13,000-ton ship a distance of 25 metres. Right, now I should explain that my colleagues, May and Hammond, think this is a stupid test. They say the aircross only develops 151 torques and that isn't enough to pull a medium-sized child. I, however, disagree. Let's do this! Go. Oh, Christ, there's some elasticity in that rope. I, however, disagree. Let's do this! Go. Oh, Christ, there's some elasticity in that rope. Ooh, hello. Why is it going backwards? This is a bit of a worry. Is that ship? The ship's going back. Look. The ship is going back. What? The situation's bad. As we reattached the tow rope, I wondered what had gone wrong. Did he put his engines in reverse as a sort of amusing joke? I mean, he is Greek, the captain. We're not German. We didn't mess your economy up. With the rope reattached, we began the test again. Here we go. That's just clutch spin. That's just clutch. That's clutch. Traction control off. It's the only solution. Hang on. I think that ship is moving. I think we're getting further and further with each pull. Go. the power and strength of the Citroen. That is Boaty McBoatface admitting defeat. And with that sorted out, it was time to address the C3's practicality. To answer this, we've come to France, where an armed robbery is in progress.